love you, man. We're happy to have you back.
We're happy to have you back.
Yesterday wasn't the same, but I mean, because...
We couldn't do the show.
Wow.
We were wailing.
No.
We were crying.
We will never have cause to wail and cry.
Like the wailers.
But it wasn't the same. We miss your energy, we miss your vibe, we miss your personality, we miss your aura. We also miss your condos. We miss giving you kudos.
Yeah. I have to warm up.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Good morning, indeed, and thank you for joining us. The Avengers of Nigerian media are back on your TV screen complete. Thank you for joining us this morning on Breakfast Central. For the next 3 hours, we'll be looking at many stories. PDP has been in the fore of conversations. Again today, there will be, of course, featuring, I mean, right now they're like the most popular, well, one of the most popular, I think it's debatable which is the most popular political party now, PDP, APC, or do we just say PDAPC? My name is Olive Emodi, and you're welcome to the show.
My name is Johansson, by the way, and it feels really good to be back on the air. I want to say thank you so much for always watching. I did get some feedback yesterday, especially with the interview you did have with the PDP member.
Honorable Clement Asiyegbemi?
Yes, Chief Dele Momodu. And the conversations were indeed, centered around what's really happening today and how further it's going to take Nigerian political landscape too. But then again, I want to say thank you so much for being part of the show. Always, it's Wednesday, and we're ready to go in. My name is Johansson.
And I'm Benga Borowa. You know the drill. I mean, that's why you're tuned into DSTV channel 422. I mean, this is Breakfast Central. You know it's the best place to start your day right. And you've made one fantastic decision today. We have a lot for you today. Yeah, it's a fully packed show. We're going to learn a lot. We're going to laugh a lot. And we're going to interact. Call us during the newspaper reviews. I am Benga Aborowa. You're welcome.
That's right. So, I mean, like I said, it feels good to be back on the midweek. They say hump day. Yeah, hump Wednesday. And some of the stories that are making the rounds from some awards that took place in
Ghana.
In Ghana.
Those awards, they be the very important fashion ratio for the award. They're just,
the Ghanaians.
Yes.
At least try to sing Cameroonian Big Brother. They have sliced bread finish. Guys, when we say we're giants of Africa, it's for a reason.
It's the fashion for me.
It's the fashion.
Charlie Pa, the fashion, it be one in town.
It's giving.
So I like some of them. Some are very interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, like Pharaoh.
He has escaped from Egypt. To your tent, O Israel.
Okay, this one wasn't. Okay, these ones are typical, like Niger style. These are nice.
Yeah, this guy. I mean, ooh. I mean, we're comparing it
No, there's no comparison. Let's not compare.
Even the video quality, you can't compare with it.
No, you can't compare. No. Even the red carpet design, you cannot compare.
I think they tried. They put up a great show.
Yeah.
I like the fact that there's something to compete.
Wow, this guy is so smart. Reminds me of Johansson on a Monday.
So in case you're wondering what this is, it's the Telecel Ghana Music Awards. It took place at the Grand Arena on the 10th of May, of course, marking another celebration of Ghanaian music talent.
Wow.
And they showed up in the same way that we celebrate Nigerian movies and we show up and show out with the fashion. This man was one at some point.
This guy changed his outfit.
Yeah, he had them pull
This
his
is the
jacket.
Ghanaian...
Pretty Mike.
Pretty Mike, yeah.
Pretty Mike of Ghana.
No, I don't think so. The Pretty Mike was one that had the sewing machine.
But I love this guy.
The guy that had the sewing machine.
No, this one can't breathe now. He was given termination.
You know that this guy reminds me of one of our directors, Tunde.
Raji, to be precise. I agree with you. We have
the same shape. And the same fashion sense and aura.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. God bless you, Tunde Raji, anyway.
The Ghana Music Awards came and gone, but we just want to highlight this, that for more, you can watch our entertainment program at 4:30 in the evening. I'm sure they'll be dissecting some of the fashion trends at the just concluded Ghana Music Awards. It was fantastic. So many pictures. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time to dwell on this, but I could say Ghanaians are beautiful. Trust me.
And we also can't talk about the relation. We can't but talk about the relationship that we have with our Ghanaian brothers and sisters. It's just like, you know, that sibling rivalry where you and your siblings will always fight, but there's deep love for each other.
Yes.
Nigerians and Ghanaians love each other, but we're always trolling each other.
For it's interesting that, people tend to forget that there are two countries in between us. We always think Ghana is a neighboring country to Nigeria. The two Francophone countries, Republic of Benin and Togo, before Ghana. So I guess maybe because of the language connection. Even our closest neighbors, Republic of Benin, we don't do much.
No, we don't do much. We don't do much. And there's this thing about them always talking about Nigeria being the giant, always leading the pack, especially in everything we do. I remember being, I don't know if anyone can remember as well, those watching. If you recall, about 15 years ago or 18 years ago, when we used to have some. No, you were around then. I mean, I don't know. I think anyway.
I'm a small child, but go ahead.
We used to have music video productions that we looked up to South Africa back then. Anybody wanted to shoot a music video?
Channel O.
Always
the days of
South Africa, shoot music videos, go to Channel O and so on. And everybody was like, "Oh my goodness!" And all of a sudden,
we're doing it. We're even doing better than
And it seems like the more Nigeria steps up, Ghana steps up, and that's why we're going to. It's very good that we link it to Africa's push to be liberated from Western neocolonialism, because whether you like it or not, many have said that until Nigeria stands, then every other African.
I love the way the entertainment industry has taken charge and put Nigeria on the global map positively, and how they've made so many superstars. It's a positive. They're positive ambassadors for Nigeria, and I wish we can just take that sort of excellence and put it into governance, and we'll really go far. That's what's left.
I agree. All
right.
Anyway.
Kudos to our Ghanaian siblings. Great work. And thank you for the beautiful collaboration we have. Even when we have our AMCs and all the other awards that we have, our Ghanaian brothers and sisters always show up. We had Majid Michelle, who's a very huge part of Nollywood as well, showed up. Nana Ekia Ado was here as well. So we love you, and we'll continue to.
And Juliet Ibrahim is always here.
No, I don't think she was around this year.
She's always.
Yeah, she's always around, and she's a huge part of our entertainment industry. To be honest, our relationship. Sorry, Jocelyn Dumar. Exactly.
That lady.
The way you said it.
No, she's beautiful.
Okay.
Oh.
Fantastic. Honestly, and I say she's beautiful because even before the era of BBL. She's been there for years, and there's anyway controversy.
Yes, please, let's move.
And I'm looking forward to the Ghana Music Awards next year, because I want to see what Tunde Raji is going to wear next year.
Okay.
You will use Ghana One's clothes to do fashion. Okay, let's now talk politics. Conversations within the Labour Party have been quite intense, with certain people sacking and certain others counter-sacking. Julius Abure is in the news. And we have a video clip that we want you to take a look at, and when we come back from playing this video clip, we will then share our thoughts. And we want you to also feel free to share your thoughts at News Central TV, is our handle on X. But just to mention that Julius Abure was fired from the party, or suspended, he was seen from the party by the Nenadi Usman-led caretaker committee. He doesn't seem to have taken this lightly.
But he suspended her.
They suspended him. He now counter-suspended.
And then Aswapa was sitting in the middle and saying, both of you are
fired. So it's like Aurora for Aurora, whatever it is.
That's serious.
Suspension back to back.
Who is dragging this back?
Julius Abure, of course.
No wonder the Senate President threw a little jibe at Mr. Peter Obi.
That to fix the problem within the
because
party.
It's becoming embarrassing. Week after week, there's one scandal in the Labour Party.
Is it really Peter Obi's fault? The drama happening in the Labour Party. The Labour Party had issues on its own before Peter Obi came into it. It was not a popular party. It was Peter Obi coming into the party and starting the obedience movement that gave the Labour Party the influence that it has, whether they like it or not, whether they admit it or not. How many people woke up willingly and said, you know what?
So the long and short of this is for the Senate President to fix Nigeria.
Tell me why.
Am I putting words in your mouth?
No, you're not.
But whether we like it or not, the Labour Party is supposed to be the strongest of them all. And by strongest, I don't mean stronger than, at least stronger than the APC.
Because of the foundation.
Exactly.
The Labour Congress.
Yes, being associated with the Nigerian Labour,
Congress.
Well. So you should be expecting that every nook and cranny, every local
because you have workers.
Exactly, you
so
have workers.
I don't think it's very surprising what's happening within the Labour Party. But you mentioned the NLC. The NLC in itself had many questionable scenarios, many questionable instances. In fact, many times on the show we have talked about whether the NLC had any longer the influence that it usually had back in the day when the NLC would sneeze and the government will catch cold. Right now, it doesn't have that level of
So the problem, what I just did from all of this is individuals, is their principles. Because it's the people that are messing this up. If you have principles, if you have people with integrity, because they always say the judiciary is the last hope of a common man. They went to court, and the courts, doesn't seem to have solved the situation. So what do we do about this Labour Party issue now? If the courts have not been able to solve it, the different parties have different interpretations to it. I suspend you, I counter-suspend you. You know, what's going on?
And it's threatening to expose Peter Obi, I'm waiting for
maybe they should take this thing to Eds and Wines. Since we've tried the legal method, let's maybe go traditional. Know what I'm saying?
That's probably a good idea.
We don't know about that. Anyway, we'll try and get the clip very soon and show to you. It's a clip of Julius Abure threatening to expose Mr. Peter Obi.
Expose what?
Don't let me talk. He said there's a lot that once he unearths, the kind of worms. I'm sure all of us here on this program as journalists, seasoned that we are, and other, aspiring and most importantly Nigerians.
Yes, let's see. There will be tapeworm, there will be cankerworm, different
all of them, all of them.
And then we'll make we'll decide.
Appeal. Honestly,
if this is what will bring about peace
to Julius Abure. Whatever it is that he feels that he knows, he should unearth everything, scatter everything.
Well, that's
he that thinks he has, nothing to fear. I don't know how to say that properly.
He that comments with equity must come with clean hands. I'm a legal luminary. Look at him.
Colleague. Thank you so much.
He's out of place.
That's why we are wearing almost the same colors. Anyway.
It's like the prodigal child on this.
Let's get back. Anyway, let's move away from the Labour Party and talk about what's happening.
We'll come back to that Labour Party, by the way.
We'll come back to the Labour Party and move to the FCT, where the FCT Commissioner of Police is lecturing officers on citizens' rights and being able to respect citizens' rights. And we do have a video for that. I'm sure that is something that you'll probably be excited about, especially because many times we've talked about the police acting out of order, extrajudicial arrest. But this one looks like a positive step in the right direction. Let's take a look.
Apprehension of offenders. What are we trying to enforce? Fundamental right of citizens. If a man slaps another, what has he done? He has violated the right of the other. Then the law now says he has committed assault. Kubakaba. If a man kills another, what has he done? No, the act that leads to murder is something. He has deprived that man the right to life. Is that not a fundamental right of his? Which has now... So you are employed to enforce and preserve the fundamental right of citizens. Am I communicating?
Yes, sir.
So the idea of slapping a suspect, abusing a suspect is not allowed. I don't know whether I'm communicating.
Yes, sir.
You are law enforcer. You should not fall foul of the law you are enforcing. That era is gone, where you need to torture before you get it. Conventions are now being challenged in court. Now beat me, now enforce me, make other. You have seen people that voluntary rights remain, but when they get to court, they say not lie. Trial within trial comes up. Right of citizens must be respected. When they come to the charge room, they are in problem. Listen to them. Now, complete human being, they go hospital. Not when they have problem, you go hospital. That is the situation with somebody coming to the station. Even those who claim to be your friend, is because you are wearing that uniform, you are in this environment. If you are no more there, you call them, they won't answer you. So when they are coming in, receive them as your clients. Listen to them. The fact that a man has a complaint does not mean that he is right. when you have given genuine advice to people, you have rendered police service. I don't know whether you understand what I'm saying. No, that is apprehension of offender.
Interesting conversation.
A positive step in the right direction.
Yes. And
we need that kind of reorientation for the next.
And I wish all policemen would take a cue from what the commissioner said. They're very poignant and they made a lot of sense that you don't deprive another person of their fundamental human rights because you want to make an arrest or enforce the law and or things like that. And I wish this message gets across to all police formations and command across the length and breadth of the country. And not just the officers, but also the rank and file, because they're the ones that are always falling in violation of the law. It's very important that we have a police force. Maybe we even need to change the name. It's not force. Maybe that's why they're always doing things. Nigerian Police Service, to serve and protect, not force.
Service is a good one.
I like that.
So that,
I like that.
when we hear police is your friend,
I like that.
You know they're rendering us
that
service.
It cuts across the length and breadth of every sector, especially those who offer services, because sometimes they feel they are doing you a service. In other words, like, oh, it's not my job, I'm just going to help you. And he's the 33rd, CP for the FCT. And what he said there, for me, I took it on the note that he said the days of torture. Torture is we know that is one way that, the police in codes have allegedly used or use regularly to get words, to get people to confess, and so on and so forth. But he's saying there's no need for that any longer.
Exactly.
If someone has been, charged or has been brought to the police station or said he has committed a crime, let the court handle it. When the time passes and then he's found guilty, of course he'll be charged and then he'll be sentenced. There's no need for you to go ahead and
because there could be miscarriage, and there is miscarriage of justice.
Oh yes,
times. Most international conventions, and I'm sure Nigeria is a signatory to the Convention Against Torture of Persons. But do the policemen know? Will they stop this?
Nope.
And it goes from top to bottom. Every DPO should tell their officers and men that you are not allowed to torture.
You know what I think? I think there should be a TV screen, installed in every police station.
And we should start talking about body cams. We should talk about body cams too.
Yes, but body cams, that conversation was had a few years ago. It was supposed to pass through the Senate, if I remember. And then the police force, my memory fails me now. The spokesperson. But what I'm trying to, what I'm highlighting is, just like you go to, regular companies, and then you find their TV screens at the reception, they tell you, oh, this is who we are. It's much more like mission statement, continuous reminder of what our goals are and so on. I think the police should have that. They might have that in the book, their booklets, but I think it should actually be in. So there should be
the moment they get out of
consistent reminders that if I'm resuming work in the morning, there's a screen that's playing, the environment, everything needs to reek and smell of the change that we're looking for. The
needs a holistic reform.
It's a whole lot. Yes. A whole lot of work. It's a whole lot of work.
All these things people are saying, at the end of the day, we also cannot have this conversation without talking about their payment, their salaries.
Yes, part of the reforms.
Because is it a grumpy policeman you're going to be telling that police is your friend? I'll come and be talking to you nicely and tell you, welcome to the Nigerian Police Service. We are here to serve you. Somebody that is thinking of where his next salary will come from and how he's going to use it to pay bills for his family. That one is another kettle of fish, because the truth is, everybody who, and some of them who are in the Nigerian police, it's not because they really enjoy it. It's that they didn't have a job, they heard there was an opening and they put themselves there. It's not because when they were kids and they asked them, what do you want to be when I grow up? When you grew up, and they said, I want to be a policeman when I grow up. For a number of them, it wasn't that. It was lack of opportunity. Oh, there's a slot in the Nigerian police. Let me just quickly go there and apply. And from there, they find a job. Some of them, I told you, I've said it on this show, how I had a conversation with a policeman after the elections. And he said he was going to agriculture. He was going back to farming. That farming paid him better than being a police officer. And he talked about the elections, how they worked overtime and they didn't get paid. And it was just a sad tale to me.
So these are the issues that we need to look at. But police is your friend at the end of the day, and we should support and give them all the necessary tools for them to work effectively. When you see a policeman abroad, you are happy to take a picture with them because their appearance, they look really, really smart. But in Nigeria, those policemen that look that way are appointment holders,
And then they're
or
not
they are
really
very
doing it. You
close
won't see
to
them do that.
VIPs,
Yes.
which is unfortunate.
But
That should be
also-
the standard across
Also,
board.
like
Yeah.
with me, for example, I feel like sometimes I don't know if it's fair to say it's by God's grace, but I don't have police problems, and it's when I get there. Once I get to a
You're not a
police
criminal.
checkpoint.
You're not supposed
Yes,
to
but
have
even
police
beyond being a
problems.
criminal, the people who have had issues with the police, they are not criminals. I've heard people who their fights with police is, you did not greet me. It's so ridiculous. They need total overhaul, but I think that also as citizens, it doesn't harm to be polite and pleasant to them. I know that a number of citizens are afraid, so don't go to them with levels of microaggression. I think that can also...
But I like that. I mean, in music and hip-hop culture, we try to celebrate policemen once in a while. The police is your friend. I remember Chris Brown and Davido. Policeman, many. Shout out to Chris Brown. I know you're a big fan of Breakfast Central, wherever you were
You listen
in
to that
Miami.
lyrics. I'm just playing to my head, soldier, policeman, many men in my convoy. He's talking about the wrongful use of Nigeria police force and of the police and the army because he's using them
In a
as
special
escorts.
protection unit. These are VIPs. You
are
expect them to be
VIPs, you know, they're
protected.
VIPs.
It's because me and Joe are humble and I know
I don't know why all of
Please
this.
don't mind
I'm
yourself.
sorry, I'm
But
sorry. I think
it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Let's move to our last story, last conversation, a wake-up conversation. If you're a Nigerian, which I know you are, and you're watching this program, especially for those who are not, but if you're a Nigerian, you're watching this program. Well, the central bank, Hencho, says that you people don't read. He says they don't read. Nigerians don't read. And why did he say so? Well, he says only 2,000 people downloaded the CBN document. So there was a first of all, I think I should start from in-house. Has anyone read the...
I read it, page 900. It was really lovely. I love that part.
It was so nice to read.
Oh my goodness. Anyway, the story is, of course, Nigerians don't read enough. Only 2,000 people downloaded a CBN document. Olayemi Cardoso, the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, has asked Nigerians to engage more with key policy documents, including the Nigeria Development Update, NDU, by the World Bank. So the document he's talking about is the NDU, Nigeria Development Update. It's a document by the World Bank. And he says he spoke on Monday during the launch of the May 2025 edition of the NDU in Abuja. And this is what he said. Let me quote his statement before we go to the responses or the tweets. He said, I think it's a very useful document, and I really do want to commend the World Bank for taking the time and the effort to put this out every 6 months. Very useful, he said. However, I do feel that Nigerians perhaps don't read enough. They don't take advantage of, and policymakers by extension, of such useful analysis which is readily available. Why do I say so? Apart from many of the things we hear at times, I remember at one point in time we looked at the website and we were appalled by the fact that barely 1,000 or 2,000 people had downloaded that particular document.
Nigeria Development Update.
Yeah.
I mean, we already have the
Comes out
update
every
and the
6
price
months.
of things in the market.
Well, it comes out every 6 months.
They don't need any document.
And one of the recent, one of the parts in the document said that the economy is starting to,
In fact,
to
let
turn
me
upon
read it to you. It
itself.
says,
Yeah.
in 2024, Nigeria's economy experienced its strongest growth in a decade, expanding by 4.6% year-on-year in the fourth quarter. This was talking about economic growth and reforms. It also talked about fiscal improvements. Government revenue rose by 4.5% of GDP in 2024, attributed to subsidy removal, better tax administration, and increased remittances. And I know where you're going.
At the end of the day, what does it mean for the common man on the street? These are just statistics. I mean, it's a positive thing looking at the macroeconomic outlook, but to the common man on the street, his economy has not improved in the last 1 year, and that's what. And why would you? I mean, the language Nigerians don't read is very condescending, coming from the CBN governor, and the responses were quite vicious. I trust Nigerians. Nigerians, that their default setting is anger. We now want to question them. Did you buy me data?
Don't provoke me to anger.
Don't provoke my anger.
Or I may lose
or
my
in
temper.
Indian film, don't angry me.
Let's take a look at the responses first from Nigerians who didn't like the tone of what the CBN
Patricia Sekarede says, we're tired of reading propaganda. I can assure you that About 50% of those who downloaded the document have not read it. Insensitivity is why you think Nigerians don't read enough. We read way more than you assumed. Everyone was buzzing about Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie's dream count a few months ago, which is true. They are still buzzing about it. Another tweet away from Akishete Kayode. There are others who have reacted to the
Let's see the other tweets.
Can we see other tweets, please? This one is a response to it says, because they don't believe in what is in that useless document. Wow,
that's a bit harsh.
That's a bit much. And this one says, just add 500 per download and for referral, extra 500 and feed the entire 200 million Nigerians for downloading.
We want to be incentivized.
Download book. Do they on his books? Incentivized.
Incentivized, yes.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? They just put every download you get.
Yes,
500.
So to be honest, I think maybe he may have intended differently. He may have intended differently and worded it differently. Could he have worded it better? Yes. I understand what he's trying to say, but not that Nigerians don't read.
But if you're not even aware that there's a document there, how do you download?
So that's another thing. It may be that what he's
Have you downloaded the National Agriculture Policy today?
No, I haven't.
How about the mining? No. Okay.
So the truth is,
are we aware?
Exactly. That's
the
that's the key question.
The truth is, a number of people, even when they want to read about certain governmental policies, they just look online, they read the document, they read summarized versions of it, they look on X because somebody may have read it and put summaries on X. People aren't in the best frame of mind now to be excited about governmental policies. Attention span.
And then people are dealing with a lot. I mean, everything is sharp.
The things that they are interested in, they read. Nigerians read. Tell me, if I start to call authors, Nigerians these days have become very interested in books. People like, of course, Chimamanda.
You might talk about your circle of friends.
No, not my circle of friends. Not just
with.
My circle of friends. I'm talking about those online because I follow some pages online.
We are 200 million.
Well, yes.
We're 200 million.
Yeah,
yes.
Exactly. So
but
put that at the back of your mind.
Over 200 million.
I know that they used to say that if you wanted to hide something from a black man, put it in a book. But I beg to
But that's good news then. Like the fitness culture, when we're growing up, there were no gyms anymore. It was just
so it's becoming a fad. It's becoming cool
now
to read. It's becoming a cool thing. Oh, what have you been reading lately? People host book clubs. I know many pages on social media where someone's like, well, I'm about to start reading this book. I have people who want to join me. So I think Nigerians are just reading other things. They're not really reading governmental policies and policy documents as much. They're just reading the things that interest them because it's like, I have a friend who will
gravitate towards what you like.
Yeah, I have a friend who will say she doesn't watch action or movies with poor endings because life is already hard enough. So she wants something that gives her a soft landing. So in a way, it might be that Nigerians are leaning towards the softer things because they're like, I beg, that's already too expensive. Let me go and read something that will make me feel better.
I also want to sum it up that I think we shouldn't categorize Nigerians in the same statement. Like, I mean, just the clarity with the CBN governor. The reason is because not everyone is a financial expert. Not everyone is an economist.
Exactly.
So I'm sorry. It would possibly interest me because I'm a journalist who's interested to know what the economy would look like. So I would try and read it. But for someone who is in the creative sector, a different aspect of creative sector, take for instance cinematography, his focus would be on, what's the latest camera? What's this? So reading that, he might, okay, fine.
But if he stumbles upon it by accident, he's not going to go look for it.
I think I mean, my statement is saying Nigerians.
Olive hit the nail on the head. It could have been worded
that's fine. But everybody, no, I don't think so.
I again understand the spirit of what was trying to be said, but then again, maybe another angle would be to ensure that when there are policy documents like this, it's important that different organizations go on TV, talk about it, educate Nigerians about it. It would be great for us where it's an open invitation to the CBN. We'll be excited to have representatives of the CBN join us on the show to talk about policies that the CBN is looking at and what the way forward is. The countdown to the 2025 Lagos local government elections is on, and the political atmosphere in Lagos is heating up. With just 2 months to go, preparations are intensifying across the state. Political parties are making strategic moves. Aspirants are rallying support, and voters are gearing up for what promises to be a defining moment in grassroots governance.
Yesterday, we saw some members of the All Progressive Congress stage a protest over the results of last Saturday's primaries. Residents of Agege said their candidate was imposed on them. The result of the primaries was not reflective of their vote. Same with members in Etiosa.
Well, my name is Malamjida Said. I'm from Etiosa local government, and I am the agent representing Wasiu Yekini Babatunde, who is an aspirant for Etiosa local government. Today we came here, but unfortunately, what we saw wasn't what we expected. At the first place, when we came here, they said the agents are not allowed to be in the room where the delegates will vote. That's the first flaw in the election. Secondly, after the whole election has been concluded, at the end of the day, they brought out the votes and they said, well, the votes will be counted and everything will be credible. But unfortunately, what we saw was a daylight robbery. What we saw was a shame. Was a shame to our party, because at the end of the day, how can an aspirant that has over 15 delegates, then when the counting was going on, you now tell me that another aspirant scored 19, one other aspirant scored 1, one other aspirant scored 1, and our aspirant, who the majority delegates voted for, didn't score anything. Well, I am very sure this thing will not go well for the party. And we are calling on our presidents, we are calling on our chairman, we are calling on the party leaders to look into this thing. That was what they did. That was what they did. That we lost the 2023 election. As we speak, Etiosa local government lost. As we speak, Etiosa local government in the 2023 election lost to Labour Party. And if we are not careful, this will happen again. Just because of.
Today we're breaking down the key developments, controversies and expectations ahead of the elections. We'll be joined by Etiosa local government chairmanship aspirant of the Youth Party, Ayodele Adio. Good morning. Thank you for joining us this morning. Welcome to the show. And I think first of all, start by saying congratulations. We've heard of your official announcement to run for office, which is very interesting. We're now seeing you, the Ayodele Adio we know differently now. We're seeing a different side of you, a different hat, literally and figuratively. What inspired you to run for office?
Good morning, and thank you for having me. I think that to your question, I got tired of complaining to the problems, because these problems just seem to never go away, especially problems that are not esoteric and problems that could easily be solved by a different class of politicians who are passionate, who are compassionate, and who are competent. And so I've spent the last decade or so, writing columns in newspapers, offering commentary on television and radio, preferring solutions to these problems. And for some reason, the people that we continue to elect into office continue to fail spectacularly to even solve the most basic problems that electorates grapple with. And this boils down, most times to a lack of capacity, but more often times the fact that the politicians that are elected into offices, have no compassion for the people that, they are making decisions on behalf of. And so I thought that it was a complete waste of time, to continue to prefer solutions to people who are unwilling to solve the problems that they were elected to solve. And perhaps it was time to use, the knowledge that I've acquired, the skills that I've acquired, the experience that I've gathered, to solve some of the basic problems that our people, are facing, at least, at the local level. And hence my decision to throw myself in the race, to give the people of Etiosa a different kind of politics, a different kind of governance that will ultimately have significant impact on their daily lives.
Thank you, Ayodele. You saw the clip we played before the interview started. These are members of the ruling APC, and as we speak, the central government is also APC, and we know what Lagos means it, especially the local government you're running for is the richest local government in the whole federation. So all hands will be on deck, and it's going to be highly contested. So for the ruling party to have internal struggles, members protesting about the conduct of the primaries within their party, I know it's a different matter. Do you have any sense of confidence in the electoral umpire, the Lagos State Independent Electoral Commission, LASIEC? Do you think they will be unbiased in the conduct of these elections and the votes will really count?
So, I mean, I'm not sure that I want to express confidence in LASIEC. You know, what I and my party has done is to ensure that, you know, we compel the commission to follow, you know, due process and to ensure that the elections are credible, they are free, and they are transparent. So I'm not leaving that to you know, sort of the willingness of the commission to act fair or not. You know, we have taken significant steps. For instance, we have written a demand letter to the commission asking specific questions and encourage them to make publications of the answers to those questions. For instance, we have asked a very significant question whether or not polling units or registration areas will be tampered with, because you know that the usual practice, you know, is that in local government elections, the State Electoral Commission sort of delineates polling units across Lagos State, which is completely illegal because state electoral commissions do not have the powers to be able to delineate polling units. The consequence of that, obviously, is that when you come out to vote on election day, you'll be told that your polling unit is 20 streets away or in some other local governments that you are completely unaware of. And that suddenly automatically disenfranchises a lot of people who want to come out and vote. So we're compelling them to make a publication and a public commitment that they will not delineate polling units, and the polling units that your PVCs are tied to will be where electors will go out you know, and vote. And failure to make that publication would approach the court to compel them to do the right thing. So these and several other issues we are going to be taking them to task with to ensure that the process is at least credible, it's at least fair. We do not want to see collation centers happening in local government secretariats. The collation centers must happen outside local government secretariats, because at the moment, you know that they control most of these local government secretariats, and all sorts of shroudy things happen process of collation. You also talk about the fact the process itself of voting. The history in Lagos State is that on election day, the people who come to vote are usually pass no accreditation process. So it's sometimes a situation of Shoma Dubonye, Oyawateka. You know, all of those things will ensure that they do not function in this current election. If you're not accredited to vote, you should not have the right to vote in any polling unit where these elections are taking place. So we're taking concrete steps to at least create the legal framework upon which the elections will be free and fair, and upon which would have legitimate grounds to challenge the outcome of these elections should they try to manipulate the process at the end of the day. So we're not leaving it to the goodwill of the chairperson of the commission or the commission itself. We're taking concrete steps to ensure that there's a lot of fairness, transparency, because that is only what will encourage electorates to come out and vote. You know, historically, we have, you know, very serious voter apathy when it comes to local government elections. Less than 4% of the electorates come out to vote. And that's because they lack confidence in the process. And our work now is to inspire that confidence. And to do that is to prove to the people that their votes will count, and that we've put together some sort of a framework that allows that vote, you know, to count.
All right. There are also worries in line with consensus. I mean, the APC, like we did see in the video, have come out to say that they would actually be going through a consensus, like basically, you know, have an agreement to select their candidates. I don't think that went down well with some of the members. The same we do here is also going to be done for your party, the Youth Party. Can you tell us how, consensus would actually work for the good of your party, seeing that, other parties are equally adopting the same process? And how does this affect, the entire process when it comes to democracy and come to local government chairmanship as well?
Okay, so first of all, it is not like as a party we're adopting a consensus, candidate. Primaries are going to hold this Saturday. The difference here is that at the moment, I am the only person running unopposed for this particular local government, right? So in that regard, as at this morning, I'm not competing against anybody. So you're not really going to have, whether it's a direct primary or indirect primary, what you're going to have is likely to be an affirmation, of my candidacy. So it's not like we have put 12, 13 people in a room together to say step down for Ayodele Adio. That's not the case, in the party. And to the question that you have raised about, what had happened in the APC, the law allows you to elect candidates in three ways: direct primaries, indirect primaries, and of course by consensus. The problem, with the APC in Lagos was that you had told the people to come and buy forms, which was pegged at 5.5 million naira for chairmanship. And you had told the people that you were going to conduct primary elections to decide who will be the flag bearers of those parties. And as I hear, close to 500 people bought chairmanship forms, and hundreds of other bought councillorship forms. And the next thing is that the party announced that there will be no refund of these amounts that were paid. And then the next thing again, 3 days to the election, was that they were going to, adopt candidates through a consensus. Now, that sounds to me a bit like political MMM, because if you knew from the onset that what you wanted to do was to adopt consensus candidates across, you shouldn't have started selling forms at 5.5 million naira and have people expend scarce resources to purchase those forms and then deny them a level playing field to contest in a free and credible primary election. And I think that does a lot of disservice, to our electoral process, because you sort of are creating and breeding a culture of impunity and a lack of fairness. And that's why you see, the internal wranglings, whether it's in Koshofe, in Etiosa, and across Lagos states. People had paid monies for forms, thought they were going into a primary election, and the next thing, it was a political MMM. The rugs were pulled under their feet, and the next thing, candidates were being, adopted that, in some cases, the majority of the people, did not want. And of course, it's shameful, but, sometimes we can't cry more than the bereaved, because if you ask these same people, to cross over to a political party like ours that gives you a level playing field, to contest the primary elections where results will count and whoever takes the day emerges as the flag bearer of the party, you're not likely to see them jump ship. They seem to enjoy the imposition. They only cry when it doesn't benefit them at that point in time. But you can be rest assured, in the next 1 or 2 weeks, they would all fall in line. And that's quite a shameful thing to happen in any kind of democracy.
All right, still talking about moving from one political party to the other. The APC seems to be the most popular party at the moment, with a lot of people from different political parties moving to the All Progressives Congress for several reasons. Are there concerns by the Youth Party that this might happen to your party as well? We've seen the PDP, the Labour Party. So do you have those concerns? And if yes, how do you plan to handle them?
Well, to be honest, I'm not sure that we have concerns about people leaving our political party, to the APC. That's not a concern that we have. And I see that this is being expressed constantly, by pundits who think that Nigeria is tilting towards a one-party state. I do not think that really and truly that is the case. What you're seeing are politicians who are pursuing self-interest and self-preservation, moving into the ruling party to protect their own interest, or to prevent, some sort of persecution, if you asked me, and insulate themselves from the consequences of some of the decisions that they have made while they're in office. And that's why you're seeing droves of people moving in that direction. And so I do not think that is likely to lead to a one-party state, because what will happen, obviously, is that the Nigerian people will then decide to look for political parties that share their aspirations, that share their values, and seek to support those political parties, that will champion their voices and show and demonstrate a commitment to the Nigerian people. Because ultimately, it's the people that drive political parties and not the other way around. So it doesn't matter how many big politicians move the other way. It's the electorates that will decide who actually will govern them at the end of the day. And once the people can sense that this political jostling that you're seeing currently is not in their own interest, but in the interest of the politicians who are seeking self-preservation, you will see the people make decisions in the other way. You saw that with the last elections, where the Labour Party swept up, the polls, picked up senatorial seats in places that were unlikely and unexpected. Mm-hmm. It was because the people powered that movement. And that is exactly what will happen, in 2027. It could be the Youth Party. I'm not sure what platform it will be, but I can guarantee you that once the people wake up to the realization that politicians are in pursuit of self-interest and self-preservation, and that's why they are running into the ruling party, what you're likely to see is that the Nigerian people and masses would coalesce under a platform that represents their ideals, their values, and are willing to fight for the interests, of the people.
Now, Dele, let's talk about local government autonomy and why local governments, in your opinion, are very, very important to the people. The Supreme Court passed a landmark judgment last year, but as we speak, so many governors are yet to obey that judgment. They're still holding local government funds. Why do you think this is the case? And what do you say to people that feel, this local governments, if you release all those monies to the local government chairman, we might have a lack of accountability, and they haven't shown enough working for the resources they're getting already?
Well, I mean, how much workings have governors showed you that you release all the funding to them? So, I mean, these are just very juvenile arguments that, people like to make. At the end of the day, there's been a Supreme Court decision that guarantees financial autonomy for local governments across the country. In fact, the recent communique from the Attorney General of the Federation is that there are efforts to actually even go a step further. In fact, it was even debated on the floor of the Senate, I think, 2 days ago, where local governments are now supposed to go and open accounts directly with the CBN so that the funds come directly to them and do not have to pass through, the joint accounts that they usually share with state governments, right? But you see, the most important element here is the Nigerian electorate and perhaps the media and civil society organization that will fight for that independence. You see, the problem is that we have continuously normalized that culture of impunity where governors seem to ride over or lord over local governments, at the state level, and everybody just simply looks the other way, and sort of normalizes that culture. The moment we begin to put our foot down and begin to ask pertinent questions of our governors and to say that, listen, leave Etiosa for us. It's the people that will decide who governs Etiosa. And the resources that accrues to Etiosa has to be spent on the people of Etiosa, and the people who were elected into Etiosa have to be accountable to us here. That is the beginning of the transformation of local governance, right? And it has to start. And I give you a typical example. In Lagos State, we seem to have all normalized the fact that elections should happen in 37 LCDAs. Of course, it's unconstitutional. I know it's unconstitutional. Why have we normalized it? There are only 20 local governments recognized by the Constitution. There are only 20 local governments in Lagos State that get allocation from the Federation account. So why are we contesting elections into LCDAs that are not recognized by the Constitution, that are not funded from federal revenue? Why are we normalizing that level of impunity? right? So these are the places where we should begin to ask tough questions, even starting from the media, that every time that there's a press rally by the government saying that we're conducting elections into 37 LCDAs, I expect to see a significant level of pushback to say that even, especially after the Supreme Court decision, there is nothing like LCDAs in the Constitution. Mind you, just yesterday, I saw in certain platforms, they were happily sharing the fact that the constitutional amendment bill that is being sponsored by Federal House of Representative members from Lagos State, Honorable Jimmy Benson and Honorable Faleke, to the extent that the bill to recognize the 37 LCDs as full local government has killed second reading. So, in fact, they are currently sponsoring a constitutional amendment bill in the National Assembly
to make it
gain
legal
recognition and legitimization of these LCDAs, which also shows that they recognize that it's illegal, it's unconstitutional. So why are we running elections into LCDAs that are not recognized by law? So you see, these are the issues. And it starts by genuine interest. And I must thank you, sincerely, I must thank News Central that you first organized a town hall that brought all the political parties together, invested significant resources in doing a live broadcast, and demonstrated interest in local government. That is exactly what I want to see across several media organizations, many of whom completely lack interest on the real issues surrounding local governance. All they just want to do is report APC this, APC that, this member in APC is fighting that person. Those are not the issues, right? The media must be interested in the real issues affecting the people at local governments. And I thank you for doing just that, by getting involved in these things and reporting the true state of affairs of our local government. That's the only way that we can achieve genuine independence. When the media, is ferocious about the truth, when civil society organizations are up to task, and when citizens themselves, demonstrate interest in what happens in their own local governments and are willing to defend it from imposition by state governments or subversion, by their state houses of assemblies. That's the only way we would make progress.
All right, as we wind down on this conversation, Saturday is just around the corner. The countdown is on already. As a, let's put it in quotes, a new player that's about to get into the league, what are the aspirations that you hold dear to your heart, and what chances do you think the Youth Party has? That's one question I'm asking. I'm just going to follow that up with a sub-question. Do you really think that the Youth Party is carrying the youths along, especially from this local government level?
Okay, so first of all, I'll start with the first question you asked, which was, what we're aspiring, to do in this local government. The truth is that I'm really running on two cardinal principles, which is public accountability and the delivery of effective, public services. These are the two cardinal principles upon which I'm running, which is that the resources that accrue to the people, of Etiosa local government, works for the people of Etiosa local governments. It affects, their daily lives, and the people can see the impact of those resources. We will be transparent and open the books to show them where every naira and where every kobo goes. We would ensure, really and truly, that monies are spent only on projects and public services that have significant impact on the people, and not, on other interests that do not amount to the progress of that particular local government. And of course, again, effective public service delivery. That means obviously that there will be effective waste collection, that your environment would be clean and resilient. That obviously means that primary healthcare centers, would work effectively. They will be manned by qualified health workers. That means obviously, that there will be an economic, we have an economic plan that will train and retrain young people in that local government to certify them with the skills and capabilities to function in the most thriving sectors in that local government, which is hospitality, which is construction, and of course, which is the creative economy. And so we're putting things in place in those particular sectors to stimulate the local economy, to train and empower young people with the skills and capabilities that will make them hired and that will make them being paid nothing less than the minimum wage. And so I have a bold plan and a bold initiative to hire over 20,000 people over the next 4 years, none of whom will earn below the minimum wage. And so we're going to be reviving the local economy, in that regard, and creating some sort of a 24-hour economy. And any economy that runs for 24 hours, inadvertently, which is the night economy, will create 30% more jobs than you have usually in the daytime economy. And this particular corridor is bustling with all sorts of, entertainment activities, nightlives, and all of that. And so we're geared towards that. But to your next question, which is about, how we're going to win, whether we're mobilizing people, what are the chances of us emerging winners of this election? Well, I can guarantee you to say that we're doing the groundwork. We're speaking to every kind of group that you can think about. Whether it's mechanic associations who are excited about our offerings, our plans, our proposals for them. Whether it's people who run small businesses and small shops across the entire corridor, whether it's young people who are desperate for jobs and desperate for opportunities. So I believe that our message is resonating. And more importantly, I believe that people are tired of the status quo.
Absolutely, I do. I completely agree with you that people are tired of the status quo. We want a different, Nigerians want something different at all levels, from the local government, state, and
something different
level,
that works, because we've asked for change before.
Anyway. We certainly wish you all the best, and we do hope that, what you're offering to the young Nigerians or to the Nigerian people at large, will be different from what Nigerians have seen over time, and may the best man win at the elections. Ayo Adio, thank you for your time with us this morning.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, guys. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Right. From one political party, the Youth Party, to another, the defection wave in Nigeria's parliament shows no sign of slowing down, as 3 senators from Kebbi State have dumped the opposition People's Democratic Party for the ruling All Progressives Congress. This development comes amid renewed calls by the Senate for increased military deployment to Borno State following fresh terrorist attacks in the northeast. Our National Assembly correspondent, Sagir Ibrahim, brings more of these reports on Tuesday plenary proceedings. Let's take a look.
As plenary commenced, the Deputy President of the Senate, Barrel Jubrin, who presided over the day's sitting, read separate letters from the 3 senators announcing their defection to the All Progressives Congress. The lawmakers, Adamu Alero from Kebbi Central, Yahya Abdullahi from Kebbi North, and Garba Meidoki from Kebbi South, cited unresolved internal crisis, prolonged litigations, and deepening divisions within the PDP as reasons for their exit, stating that the APC presented a more viable political platform. In his response, Barrow welcomed the defectors, describing their move as a signal for the APC's growing strength ahead of future elections.
So it shows that there will be a lot of successes and victories for the APC in the future. Nigerians are beginning to understand what progressive ideology means.
We say it every time that once you are in this hallowed chamber, it will not matter what party you belong to. What will matter to you is overriding public interest.
The Senate also considered a motion of urgent national importance raised by Senator Muhammad Tahir Monguno representing Borno North concerning renewed terrorist attacks in Borno and Yobe states. The motion prompted calls for immediate deployment of troops and state-of-the-art military hardware to the affected areas to stem the resurgence of Boko Haram.
The insurgents have employed more modern technology, including the use of drones, to unleash attacks on villages and communities in the state.
It's not only in Borno and Yobe, but Adama inclusive, and we are feeling more recently Adama.
All the military high command to swiftly redeploy sufficient personnel to the northeast. Those in favor of the prayer, please say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
The Senate mandated its Committee on Army and Air Force to ensure compliance and follow up on the deployment directive, Attention then shifted to another motion on the urgent need to amend the composition of the Federation Account Allocation Committee to include representatives of local governments and area councils. The motion, sponsored by Deputy President of the Senate and presented by Senator Issa Jibrin, sought to ensure that local councils are actively represented in the national revenue sharing process.
In light of the current position of the Constitution, as interpreted by the Supreme Court, it has become imperative that a representation of local government councils be per state and area councils be nominated to represent their interest at FAC.
It's only the local government councils and the area council that are not represented. So they don't know precisely what is happening.
It will enable those who are going to be part of the sharing formula to be at the table, for them to know what exactly is being shared and why this is being allocated to us.
Whoever has a hand in the federation account should be a participant when sharing is taking place.
The motion received overwhelming support from lawmakers who emphasized that direct beneficiaries must be part of the decision-making process when allocating national revenue. In Abuja for News Central, Sakir O'Brien.
Very interesting times for Nigeria's political landscape. It feels good to be back. Thanks for staying with us. The defection wave hitting Nigeria's opposition party, the People's Democratic Party, shows no sign of slowing down as 3 senators from Kebbi State, like you saw in the package right before we went for a break, have yet again dumped the opposition People's Democratic Party for the ruling All Progressives Congress. The PDP, that's the party that once dominated Nigeria's political landscape, is indeed losing its members. Major figures jumping ship, others shifting alliances and raising doubts about whether the opposition can even pose a serious challenge in 2027. So, is the PDP fighting for survival, or is this the inevitable decline of Nigeria's once powerful opposition? Well, joining us to shed more light on these internal issues is the former National Publicity Secretary of the People's Democratic Party, Mr. Kola Olagudiyan. Thank you so much for being here this morning.
Thank you very much, and good morning to you. Good morning to Nigerians.
Very interesting. A lot of persons have, talked about, in short, we've also had PDP members on this platform who have continued to speak, especially on the mass defection of members from your party. Is there any worry or any concern that comes from your end? And are there any indications that you yourself will equally be making a move to the APC?
Whether I will make a move to the APC?
Absolutely. I mean, it's like a football club. Everybody's signing into the football club. Question. So who's going to move? It's like a political transfer window. So are you moving?
I've always described the situation like the transfer window,
yes,
of the football community. But it doesn't mean, even in the transfer window or the football community, it doesn't mean that every player or every coach will sign out. No. And that's why I find it strange that you said that, oh, there's a mass defection. You see, that coinage of mass that has been used to couple every form of defection, maybe one person or 2 persons, is laughable. Well, having said that, I must agree with you that there are issues of concern in the People's Democratic Party. I must accept the fact that the party is confronted with challenges. And I must also agree with you that there are fears whether PDP can pull together and confront the 2027 elections. Now, if we look at it historically, or follow the trajectory of alignment and realignment in the political environment of that's where I come from, of Nigeria, you will discover that it's often said that politicians don't follow ideologies and that they follow self-interest. So normally, at every point of transfer window, you see politicians moving from where it appears that things are slowing down to move to where it appears as if there is enough thing to go around. That's the situation that the country is facing today. That's the situation the political system is facing today. But having said that, I do believe that if the People's Democratic Party is desirous of a reset, just like Nigeria political system also needs a reset. If the PDP is desirous of that reset, it can pull together. And if it chooses to pull together, it will provide a very strong opposition against the ruling party. But I must also run away from the fact that the challenges that we are seeing now is induced by the ruling government and the ruling party, because they are the one looking for a system like they have in Lagos State, where the other party until the last election had been able to provide a strong opposition. You know, the Labour Party did in the last election, 2023. So in Lagos State. So that's the environment in which the parties have found themselves. There's handing of political leaders. We also have blackmail of political leaders. If you don't come and join us, even if you win your election by your strength in your state, we will make sure that the Supreme Court take the state. So you have all this scenario playing out, and that is why we are witnessing this form.
Okay. Now, Mr. Ologundiyan, as an insider and a very formidable member of the People's Democratic Party, because you've said you are not looking at the transfer window yet, and you're very much intact within the PDP. You did mention that, you know, if, using the conditional, if the PDP is desirous of a hard reset, then it will get its house in order to put up a formidable challenge to the ruling APC in 2027. From what you've seen so far, just yesterday, let's also note that the entire Senate members in Kebbi State defected to PDP. So this transfer window is not ending anytime soon. From what you see, is the PDP ready for a hard reset? Are they desirous of a hard reset to fix things as we speak today?
Well, first, let me talk about the political climate in Kebbi State, where Senator Aliru and the other two senators come from. You see, the leadership in Kebbi always oscillates with where things are happening politically. And if you look at the trajectory of Senator Aliru, particularly being a former governor, and the movements that he has done, and with his group in Kebbi State, I mean, concerning their politics, what is happening now will not be strange to you. And I can even assure you that even in the next couple of months, Senator Aliru sees that, oh, even the APC that he has gone to is diminishing. He might not return to PDP, but he could also go back to wherever formations are being made. That is the nature of the politics of Kebbi State, and I stand to be challenged on that. But having said that, on whether, from my own assessment, I think the PDP will do the needful. Well, if you look at a couple of meetings that they have had, that the PDP leaders have held, starting from the Ibadan meeting, where the certain decisions were taken concerning the internal issues in the party, like creating a date and insisting that the date for the National Executive Committee, which has been severally postponed, and saying that the next will hold on May 27, bringing up the issue of National Convention, which I have recommended to hold in August, ahead of the expiration of the tenure of the current NWC members. Then 3, the issue of the National Secretaryship, which has become contentious, which have gone to court and back, and which the Supreme Court has ruled that, oh, parties should be managers of their affairs, stop bringing your problems to us. They made these various recommendations to the National Working Committee. And the National Working Committee, in their 600th meeting, approved these recommendations and have expressed readiness to take these recommendations to NEC. They will follow that trajectory. And everybody has a sincerity of purpose. And they are desirous to say that we have to pull back, we have to bring back our party. Then, perhaps, we can say that, oh, we are really ready for election. Because even as of today, as we speak, the only party that has the influence and the capacity and the strength and the various polling units and the wards in Nigeria today still remains the People's Democratic Party. But whether the leaders of the party, who are perhaps out of the influence of the ruling government, or perhaps out of the handing of the local government, the handling of the leaders of the party, or perhaps because one of the major members and leader in the party, I refer to the FCT minister, who is working in the APC government, wants the APC to continue to rule. All these factors will play out in the months, in the years ahead to determine whether the PDP is ready to play the role of opposition.
Very, very, very tough one. But let's also look at these mass defections and what it means, especially going into 2027. We do understand that the PDP had a meeting, that was on Sunday, where the FCT minister himself was present, and conversations indeed followed through after that meeting. Talks about the PDP coming back, the possibility of even finding their space in 2027. I mean, you've been there, you've followed through, and you've seen how power had shifted, especially from the former president's time, President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, and up until now. Would you say that there is a possibility that you would have a right candidate ahead of 2027, whom Nigerians would be, putting their trust on?
Well, you see, before we talk about candidature, I think we have to put the homestead in its proper place. If we have not put the homestead in its proper place, how can we talk about candidature? So it is okay. There are names, like I said yesterday on another platform, that there are narratives, because that is the way it rules in the People's Democratic Party, ahead of the National Convention, which is not even the Presidential Convention. No. The one that we are working on now is the convention that will determine the fate of the people who are ruling the party now, or whether they will be retained, or whether they will be asked to go. That's the convention that we are talking about. But perhaps because APC came out too early, even before mid-term, to start talking politics. Every political party is also talking politics. And every political party is also expressing readiness to take over from the horrendous rule of the APC administration. So, having said that, narratives will continue to emerge about, what direction is the party going to go, who are the possible candidates. But I think that for now, where even members of our party and even leaders in our party are thinking and contemplating alternative platforms, though they remain members of the PDP, or in a situation where people are saying that no, let us hold firm to our own political party. Perceptively, because of fears that the current ruling government, the APC government, might manipulate the national, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, not to allow for new parties to be formed. So we have a lot of issues that we need to address, that we need to take charge of before we can begin to talk about whether the party will be, whether a certain person will be president, whether certain zone should produce the president.
Okay, so what are these issues that you speak about that need to be addressed before we can talk about candidacy and party leadership? What are the issues that need to be addressed, and how do you propose that these issues be addressed?
One, the formidability of the opposition political party that will continue. You see, the formidability of the opposition party that will stand election in 2027 is very imperative. Can our party do it alone, or do we need to discuss and open channels of discussion with other political parties that might want to come and say, let's do this together? So this is part of the issues. And like I said, there are affairs in the political space that even if you say that, okay, I don't want to do APC, I don't want to do PDP, I want to do another party, are we sure that this government and this INEC will allow for fresh political parties? So these are the challenges. These are the issues. And also, we must also remember that one of the outspoken ministers in the President Ahmed Tinubu administration did say on channels that which party are they going to use. So it means that they are already cooking something somewhere. So I think the political class and Nigerians as well must be conscious of these issues. And me, I believe, and I say it everywhere, 2027 is not going to be about any political party. It's going to be about the pains. It's going to be about the hunger. It's going to be about the deniers. It's going to be about the lack of funding in our respective forces. It's going to be about the fact that the economy is in shambles, whether the government wants to accept it or not. The people on the other flank, we, the ordinary Nigerians, who know where the shoes are hurting us, will determine whether the government is free to continue or not.
All right. I mean, you've said what these issues are and how exactly you think that this should be handled. Also, let's talk about all the opposition. And this is a question we ask everybody who's come up to discuss about the People's Democratic Party and the challenges within the party, if they see the possibility of collaborating with other political parties. So it's a twofold question I'm going to ask. First, the possibility of zoning to the north in response to what the Minister of the FCT said, zoning to the south rather first, and then to also talk about the possibility of collaboration with other political parties, or like we will call it, coalition with the other political parties.
Well, all these matters that you have raised are in the contemplation of discourse in the political space. So, because they're in the contemplation of discourse in the political space, no any individual can say that this is the direction, this is the direction things are going to go. No. But like I said, every issue that you have raised now has become a narrative in the political space. And it has also entered into discourse in the respective political platforms. So we follow the trajectory as it goes. And I don't think that we can, on this platform and at this sitting, determine the shape of what is going to happen. But what's important, what's imperative, and what must be taken into consideration is the fact that all these issues are being discussed, whether in loud tones or in hushed tones, among politicians within the political class.
Well, let's continue to look forward to more information that would come out from the PDP. But also, are you of the opinion that the former vice president, who happened to be the runner for the 2023 elections, His Excellency, or better still, you could call him Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, are you of the opinion that he should actually run again for 2027? Because there are talks that if the PDP needs to get it right, they need to, change the entire process, get a new candidate. I'm still hammering on the candidacy or candidature rather. So are you of the opinion that if he comes back, should the PDP accept him with open arms and also allow him to vie for that seat again?
I mean, this is assuming that the house has been put in order, and then we've now moved on to candidacy.
Well, that's a difficult question for me as an individual, because when it comes to politics, decision about ambition is personal. It is yours to make. It is mine to make. It is yours to say that, oh, I'm going to contest this election. It is mine to decide whether I want to vote for you or not. So it's not easy for any other person to say that, oh, Mr. So and so must not contest. Well, the Constitution guarantees his right to contest if he chooses to. But as members of the party, as individuals in the party, as Nigerians, do we feel that his candidature will help to sell our party? That's the question that the leaders must respond to. That's the question that if Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, the former vice president, chooses to bring himself out for election, and will go for a delegate election, that's the question the delegates must ask themselves. I don't believe that it is in the power of any other individual, whether he's zone to the south or whether he's zone to the north, whether he's zone to the east or whether he's zone to the west. There are people that might want to contest, and I would say that how can this person be the candidate? Or another Mr. B can say that why would that person from that zone be the candidate? But all these are within the realm of those individuals' contemplation. Until you go to where they go to determine their vote, and you vote in one way.
Sorry to butt in. Sorry to butt in, but what do you make of the statement?
You cannot say that the man who has an ambition.
Sorry to butt in, but what do you make of the statement?
That ambition. That is the hard fact. Whether we are going to accept it or not is a different thing.
But what do you make of the statement coming from the FCT minister that says that it must go to a different part of Nigeria, and not from the north, possibly going to the south?
I discard that. Yeah, I regard that as one of the narratives in the political space, because at the end of it all, the FCT minister desires that. It's a desire. Desires that, the South has to complete its 8-year term. Somebody somewhere else will say that, yes, I agree with you that the South has to complete its 8 years. Somebody else in PDP can come out and say yes. But the PDP will produce a candidate from the Southwest. Another person will come out and say, yes, I agree with you, Mr. FCT minister. But that position will go to the South, but must go to the Southeast. Another person will come and say, no. It has to be South-South. Another person will come from the North and give you reasons why it must go to either the Northwest, the Northeast, or the North Central. So it's about narrative. So it's about narratives, and it's about how this narrative will be shaped ahead of the election. It is not in the saying of any individual to say that, a party that has hundreds of thousands or millions of members will go in this direction. It is the party that will decide what direction they want to go.
Now, Mr. Olobodun, as we inch towards the 2027 elections, following the defection of Governor Sheriff Abure of Delta State, are we expecting any more governors to defect, knowing that Governor of Cross River State has openly endorsed President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for the 2027 elections, even though he's a member of the PDP? And where did the ordinary Nigerians factor in all of these defections and political calculations? No one is talking about them.
Well, to be honest with you, governors will defect, senators will defect, House of Rep members can defect, State Assembly will defect, people will defect. We said it, we agreed from the beginning that is a season of defection. So people will defect. But also don't forget, because it's very important for us as colleagues, as journalists, in our analysis, we must also remember to add that in the 2023 election, that we had a governor in Delta State, in person of Senator Governor Ifeanyi Okuwa. We also had him as a vice presidential candidate. But the PDP lost that state to the Labour Party. It's a clear message that this is not about which party is in power. It is about the determination of the people who are the electorate to choose who their leader, who their president, who their governors will be. I think that as colleagues and as journalists, fellow colleagues, I think our agenda setting should be about where will the people go. Not where, no matter how strong an individual is, not where, no matter how hard that individual is, whether he can influence the totality of the hemisphere of his of where he participates in elections. So that's my own take.
We unfortunately have to wrap up the conversation here as we have to go on a break. Mr. Kola Olobodun, thank you so much for joining us this morning on the show. Again, we hope that the PDP is able to put its house in order and do that as quickly as possible in time for 2027. Thank you for your time. All right, we'll go on a break now, and when we come back, we'll be looking at other conversations this morning on Breakfast Central. Do stay with us. With a rapidly growing population, food security remains a challenge. But could technology be the game changer Nigeria desperately needs? Just like you have the ice water challenge you see on social media, there's another challenge called the IUT Challenge, which is focused on bringing game-changing innovations to Nigeria's agricultural sector. Young Nigerian agri-tech startups showcased groundbreaking ideas, AI-driven soil analysis tools helping farmers maximize output, smart irrigation systems reducing water wastage and increasing efficiency, agri-fintech solutions, bridging the gap between farmers and financial services.
And thanks to Haifa International's recently concluded Youth 2025 Challenge, we're seeing young innovators tackling these issues head-on with cutting-edge solutions. How far can technology go in solving Nigeria's agricultural challenges? Let's get into it. Joining us this morning for the discussion is Country Director for Haifa International non-governmental organization is Dr. Lekan Tobe. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Tobe. You're welcome to Breakfast.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Now let's start with what are the biggest challenges facing the Nigerian agricultural sector? For a country that is blessed with enormous arable land, we still find ourselves importing food and still under the risk of food insecurity. How can technology mitigate these problems, and what are the biggest problems as we speak?
Well, it depends on from which angle you're looking at it. The biggest problem may be access to finance or access to market or increasing post-harvest loss, that happens annually. But I would say that the underlying factor to all of those is access to technology, relevant technology that helps to drive efficiency and scale in the production system, which is lacking in Nigeria mostly. And that is why you see a lot of drudgery on the farm, and a lot of inefficiencies also happening, especially because Nigeria depends on largely smallholder farmers. More than 80% of those responsible for producing the food that we consume in Nigeria are smallholders with less than 2 hectares. And they're still using hoe and cutlasses, which makes agriculture unattractive, especially to the youth. And that's exactly what we're addressing with Agriculture Youth and Technology Program of at HAFA, which is called acronym AYUTHE. And that happens annually for us, to attract youth into agriculture and through agribusinesses, through agri-tech provision of agri-tech solutions to smallholder farmers and even in production areas. But essentially, we want to encourage youth. We want to point them to the opportunities that are bound in agriculture, especially as you alluded to, where we have several million hectares of arable land, but we're only using about 50% presently. And there's still so much opportunities with regards to import or importation of food into the country, which we can actually reduce to the barest minimum to achieve food sufficiency in the country.
All right. You've talked about a number of these challenges that we're facing and how you're looking to encourage more youths to be interested in agriculture. Let's talk about the impact of climate change. The world is looking for their global best practices that are being employed to mitigate the harshness caused by climate change. And we see it play out during the rainy season. We see the intense floods. How would you say that climate change has impacted the agricultural sector, and how well is Nigeria responding to the challenges that come with climate change in the agricultural sector?
Well, Nigeria is responding in the best way possible that it can, but there's so much more that can be done to mitigate the effect of the impact of, or the impact of climate change. And you will notice that those effects are increasing by the day, and they manifest as increasing flooding and droughts, annual droughts that happens, which is pushing farmers out of their production systems into uncharted lands. It's displacing farmers, and there's so much that can be done around that. And some of those are already being done, and we also at HAFA are participating in ensuring that farmers become more resilient to climate change. Now, the financing of climate change solutions is where we are lagging behind in the country, and we can do so much more around that across, amongst our stakeholders, especially the government. And I can boldly say that the government is doing its best, but the best can also be improved upon by partnering with the likes of NGOs that are looking at addressing that, and also funders across the globe that are interested in reducing the effect of climate change, because climate change affects every part of the food system, you know, whether it is harvest or post-harvest problems, and or it's affecting the resources that are used in production, such as water or the soil itself. And that is why you see that the distribution of rainfall is not consistent with what we know. You know, the variability is increasing by the day. It's becoming very unpredictable. The weather pattern is becoming unpredictable, but there are things that we can do. For example, we can increase irrigation infrastructure across the country to ensure that farmers can produce year-round, and of course, for supplementary irrigation too, even in the wet season, especially where there are prolonged droughts or flooding. But beyond that are also where things like insurance comes in, and that is something that is not taken seriously in the country, especially agricultural insurance. Farmers do not take it seriously. I would say that only about 2% or 3% of smallholder farmers have adopted the use of insurance to protect themselves against the effect of climate change, and we can do so much more there. At HEFA, we have what we are supporting farmers with, which is called Pay at Harvest Area Yield Index Insurance, just so that farmers can pay their premium at the beginning of the season, and then at harvest they pay back through their crops or their yields. And we also have programs such as smallholder irrigation systems that we're promoting. And we also know that others are also promoting it. Things like solar-powered irrigation, things like solar dryers, things like everything that we are using now, especially in response to the changing realities on the ground that we have, whether it is in politics or in the economics of countries. There are so much that are changing, that are uncertain, that we can also find solution around. You know, we can ideate, we can find solution, and we can actually intervene, you know, based on the context.
Well, I like the fact that you talked about agricultural, you know, insurance. It's a word that many still find strange, especially when it comes to farming. But I'd like us to look at the advancements technology has indeed brought, especially to revolutionizing agriculture. How would you say technology has impacted on the agricultural, you know, businesses, the processes, and with the competition you put together, how is this also helping Nigerians to start to embrace the use of technology?
Well, first, technology is a strong factor for agricultural development. As you know, that industrialization takes advantage of technology to get to where you want to be, especially that has happened in industrialized countries, and we can take advantage of that too. But technology that we're talking about has to be context specific. It has to be either borrowed and adapted to our own environment, or developed from scratch here in the country. And when you're talking about technology, it cuts across the value chain, from the upstream to the downstream, across all nodes. Every actor in the value chain, agricultural value chain, need to take advantage of technology, because it brings about efficiency and removes drudgery on the farm, and also increase the scale and impact that can be obtained, you know, in the different agricultural enterprises. And we need to promote that among smallholder farmers, and that's exactly what some of us are doing, ensuring that smallholder farmers move away from the use of hoes and cutlasses, as it were, especially the aging farmer population that we have now. And if we're going to truly attract the youth into agriculture, then we need to point them to the need to leverage technology, and that is what many of them are developing now, because they are being supported to find opportunities in the agricultural landscape that they can develop and participate. For example, you talk about drone technology. Drone technology can be used in addressing issues of pest and disease, soil stress, and water stress, and the like. It can be used in precision agriculture, as it were. And then you have technologies presently that can help detect diseases on the farm before they spread. Those are the things that we want more of in the country. Mechanization is another area. You know that in Nigeria, our tractor penetration is about the lowest in Africa, and we need to do something about those. And some of us are already doing something about that, in partnership with youth-owned agricultural companies. And there's so much more that can be done, but technology should be truly integrated. It should be at the center of promoting agricultural development in Nigeria.
Now let's talk about there's an issue that borders me, and it must be really painful for farmers to plant and then have the patience to wait. And after planting season, they harvest, but it's reported that farmers in Nigeria record up to 40% post-harvest waste. How serious is this problem, and how can technology be deployed to take care of this post-harvest losses?
Post-harvest loss in agriculture is a serious problem. You just touched on part of it, which is we record across all commodities, across all value chains, we record an approximate of 40-45% loss every year. That is outside of what is lost even before harvest, during production. And there's so much that can be done, but it is capital intensive also because it requires a lot of infrastructure across the country, especially cold chain logistics that are required, because these are especially what is mostly affected are the perishable crops. For example, tomato and cucumber and all of those other fruits, and vegetables that we produce in this country, which we call seasonal. We can actually produce them and store them and smoothing their supply across different seasons if we have the right infrastructure in place. Cold storage and cold transport system, the cold chain transport system, and so many other things that we can do. But essentially, we need to build up on our processing capability. We are lagging behind seriously around that. And until we get that right. For example, if you produce so much tomato, and you're running to glut, if you have a processing capability, across the country, that can be taken care of, so that we will not need to be importing concentrates that are some of which are adulterated, into the country and causing serious health problem to our citizens in the country, but we need to prioritize what we want to do. Historically, we have been focused more on production, but we also see that post-harvest loss is withering away all of our efforts at the upstream, focusing on production, providing inputs and so on and so forth.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much for sharing with us the many challenges that span across the different value chain when it comes to post-harvest waste. But let's talk about the Ayute challenge. How long has it been on for? How long is it on for? How do you get people to be a part of it? And what really is the Ayute challenge? How can people be a part of it?
Yeah, Ayute Challenge, that is an initiative of HEFA, which is Agriculture, Youth and Technology. And it started about 4 years ago. There are two different channels of that. One is Africa-wide, which is targeted at growth stage agri-technology companies. and that the award prize is much more bigger than what we have in countries. In Nigeria, we started about 4 years ago, and we just had the grand finale for this year yesterday in Abuja here. And the idea behind it is to attract youth to the opportunities that abound in agriculture, leveraging technology. That is what we're pointing to youth across the board, not necessarily those who read agriculture or something, but that they may see that they can take hold of that sector and grow it in a way that contributes to the GDP of Nigeria much more than it is doing now. And what we hope to do is to continue to mentor and coach this youth, who have generated different innovative ideas that support farmers in their production activities. And we're seeing success, and each year the number of applications for ideation at the ideation stage or for innovative ideas have increased. We recorded more than 1,000 applications this year, unlike in the past that we have less than 500. And that tells you that youth are becoming more aware, and that's exactly what we want to create. We want to create awareness about the opportunities that are abound, and that agriculture is a place to go, similar to what has been done in the health sector and in the education sector, leveraging innovative technologies. We want to ensure that that is also done in agriculture. It's been done successfully in the financial sector. We want to ensure that it is done also successfully for agriculture, where you have youths taking charge of different enterprises that move the needle in agriculture.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. We look forward to seeing more initiatives that will be introduced and to see more ways in which we can ensure young people, through the means of technology, are bringing solutions to the agricultural problems facing us in our country. Thank you for your time with us.
Watching Breakfast Central, this is Breakfast Headlines. Let's begin with security matters. The Nigerian Senate has issued a strong call for increased military presence in the northeast, particularly in Borno and Kebbi states, following a surge in Boko Haram attacks. The resolution came after Senate Chief Whip Mohammed Taher Mungono reported that more than a dozen soldiers were killed in an ambush in Mate town, located in Mungono local government area. Mungono warned that insurgents are now utilizing advanced technology, including drones and improvised explosive devices, IEDs, making the situation even more perilous for both military personnel and civilians. In the meantime, the Nigeria Police Force has dismissed as false and misleading a video circulating on social media which claims one of its helicopters was seen delivering food supplies to bandits in Kebbi State. In a statement released Tuesday, Force Public Relations Officer ACP Muiwa Adejobi clarified that the helicopter in question was part of a coordinated security operation carried out on Saturday, May 10, 2025 in the Obajana area. The operation, he said, involved police operatives, local vigilantes and hunters working together to combat banditry, kidnapping and other forms of violent crimes. According to Adejobi, the helicopter was strictly used for aerial support and surveillance, not to deliver any illicit items. Let's now turn our attention to Edo State, where Governor Monday Okpebholo has declared that his administration will not back down in its ongoing fight against cultism and violent crimes. Addressing a group of youth during a peaceful rally at the Government House on Tuesday, the governor reaffirmed his government's resolve to protect lives and restore safety across the state. Governor Okpebholo emphasized that insecurity not only endangers citizens but also threatens the state's economic growth and scares off potential investors. Speaking on the recent demolition of a building reportedly linked to court activities, the governor insisted that the action followed due process and was necessary in the broader crackdown on criminal networks. Let's tell you that the Lagos All Progressives Congress Deaf Support Group is calling for greater inclusion of deaf individuals in political appointments in the state. At a press briefing in Lagos, members of the group expressed frustration over being routinely overlooked for decision-making roles despite their active involvement in campaigns and elections. The group emphasized that the issue is not a lack of qualified deaf professionals, but rather a system that fails to recognize their potential and contributions.
People who are contesting councillor for this dispensation are no one of us. You are not happy at all. They just use more of us. And as we are complaining is that we have done campaign. We rally around our candidates. We do all we can for them. When they finish it, they are given position as reward. They can appoint some of us who are with them, like personal assistants, like special advisor. Any position just to come for our good, for our effort.
In response to growing complaints, the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board will hold a high-level review meeting on Thursday to assess the conduct and outcome of the 2025 UTME. The decision comes amid protests and widespread dissatisfaction from candidates and their families following the release of results last Friday. Many are claiming technical glitches, inconsistencies, and unusual low scores. In the notice issued by JAM, the board stated that it is taking the concerns seriously. The upcoming review will bring together vice-chancellors, provosts, rectors, school principals, examiners, and technical experts to examine the entire examination process. The UTME is a vital step in securing admissions into Nigerian tertiary institutions, testing nearly 2 million candidates each year in subjects tied to their chosen fields, including the compulsory use of English. And that's all on Breakfast Headlines. Stay here. Newspaper front pages comes up next, after which we're in Nigeria in a moment.
The 2025 UTME results are out, and they are a national embarrassment. Over 1.5 million students sat for the exam. More than 78% scored below 200 out of 400. Only a tiny fraction crossed 300. That's not failure. That's a system in crisis. And what did we hear from the officials? Oh, that this shows anti-cheating measures are working. Since when did mass failure become a cause for applause? Yes, exam malpractice must be crushed. But if after all the cheating is removed, 8 out of 10 students still fail, then the education system itself is the problem. Let's be honest, many of the students face computer crashes, network failures, and blackouts during the exams. How do you run a computer-based test in centers where computers don't work? Let's go deeper. What future are you offering students in schools without electricity, without toilets, without teachers, where science labs are locked up and libraries are just empty rooms with dust? And then there's the silent killer, poverty. How many of the students went to bed hungry? How many are forced to hustle after school just to survive? Yet we expect them to compete and succeed. But instead of fixing the foundation, we blame TikTok, we blame Instagram, we blame Gen Z, no, Nigeria. Blame the system, blame the decades of neglect. This isn't just about JAM, it's about a nation where education is treated like a luxury instead of a right, where schools rot while politicians fly abroad for medical checkup and photo ops. Will we keep pretending, pointing fingers and pushing the blame down the line, or will we finally rise? The government must invest, not just regulate teachers, but must respect them and not abandon them. Parents must get involved and not give up. And students, you must stay hungry, stay curious, and fight for your future. Because if our children keep failing, then we, the adults, have already failed. Time is ticking, the road is broken, but the choice is still ours. Good morning, Nigerians.
Welcome back. Time to look at the front pages. We do have public affairs analyst, the one who talks very tough, and you could call him the seer because he predicts the future of every single thing that happens. We do have joining us Mr. Theophilus Akatuba.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Nice to have you.
Welcome. Good to have you.
Good to have you.
Good to have you. And we'll be looking at some of the very interesting newspaper front pages. But before we go to the front pages, let's connect with our man Joshua Imarayi, who is somewhere and a place that would interest you because he has updates to give to us. So we're going to connect straight to Joshua. Good morning to you, Joshua.
Good morning to you, the breakfast Steve. I am here live at the Federal High Court in Abuja, where in no short moment the trial of Nnamdi Kanu will resume. But before that, let me give you a roundup of what happened in court yesterday. Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan in person appeared in court. This is the first time she's appearing since the suit was instituted at the Federal High Court. Of course, you know Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan is challenging the suspension from the Nigerian Senate. Well, she sued the Nigerian Senate, and parties to this suit are the clerk of the National Assembly.
Okay, you seem to have lost the connection to Joshua. Joshua, are you there? Oh, we hope to connect to Joshua Imarayi. He's live at he's making a clear report from Nnamdi Kanu's case there. And he's also telling us what happened and what's going to take place concerning Senator Natasha Akpoti's case, which also was yesterday. It's been adjourned to June 27th, by the way. That's another case. And by the way, the presidency also has another case. So it's like we're looking at three very important
What's
cases.
the presidency's case?
You have that of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu dealing with the PDP, who are taken into court.
The governors.
Yes, the governors.
For state of emergency.
For state of emergency, that it's not constitutionally right for him to do so. Yesterday, the court were expecting that they would come forth to also present their case, but they weren't there. Surprisingly, the sole administrator sent his representative, but then again, that case was adjourned. They gave them up until I think May 18th or so, and said it will no longer be moved. So that's case number one. We have Senator Natasha versus the Senate President. That's another big case number two to look into. So I think the judiciary is busy. And then you now have the other one, of course, which our reporter was talking to us from, which is that of Nnamdi Kanu. But we'll come back to that. Let's go to the front pages of the papers right now. The Punch newspaper is the very first one we're going to look at. JAM VCs to review UTME results. I'm not going to waste time. Let's just go straight to that story without further ado. I'm sure you may have been tired of listening to the reports. Parents not happy, videos of parents, all they've had to do Which Way Nigeria yesterday, looking at what Nigerians are saying.
And I also had to do...
And you did Which Way Nigeria today, and then a representative from JAM saying it's due to Yahoo cultism, that's why they failed.
TikTok.
The stories flying around and the way people are reacting. And by the way, you can also call in and let us know what you think. What's your thought, first of all?
Well, I saw it Which Way Nigeria. If we implement what's recommended there, we'll get nowhere. We must put the blame where it belongs. Every one of us, we're guilty, we're responsible for what we get. Examination is a mirror. They reflect back to the people their true states. All these conditions that we have listed that could have been responsible for this, they have always been present. And we have had very good grades. So Nigeria has not prepared for the future it's looking for. Nigeria is not on the road to that great expectation. When we get the result we deserve, we start complaining, we start throwing blames.
No, so this one is a different case.
I get the point. No, those technical, they are not enough to give us what. It just, you see, at this stage, we must be very, very sober. We've seen this situation in Liberia before, where the entire country failed, and no one got the grades. Not one. So Nigeria is on the road surely to that destination, unless we arrest it.
In 2023, when we complained about technical glitches in elections, did you think that
see, glitches are common in anything technology. It happens even the whole world. Airports, you see flights cancelled all over because of glitches.
But there are implications.
I get your point.
Implications.
What I'm saying, if you focus too much on that, you will not get the message We have problem with youth development. Learning processes are faulty. Curriculum outdated. Economic challenges present. People are not well educated. Our primary schools are not developing our young ones with the right foundation. Nigerians think that education is about spending big money in schools. We have a faulty educational program that is not being implemented properly. States, our investment in basic education, no one is asking questions. Monies are diverted. Primary schools are not funded. We have a problem.
How many new primary schools are even established?
In fact, even the ones we have are not properly funded because the monies go to state government and local government. We don't talk. Primary education belongs to the local government. What's the quality we have there?
All right, Mr. Akatuba, two truths can coexist. And whilst many people, even the practitioners in the education sector, agree with a number of things you said, that we need a total overhaul, we need accountability, we need to check the budgets and where these monies go. Alex Onia, the CEO of Educare, has been at the forefront of championing the cause of these students. The complaints of those who would say a number of the questions were not questions, they were just answers. I mean, JAMB has mandated that it's a computer-based technology assessment that they use, so there's no writing with pen and paper. A number of the schools don't even have access to computers during their training, so now they are made to be assessed by something that they're not used to.
They thought they were good with computers.
Isn't that exactly so? Isn't that unfair to the students? They're not given a fair fighting chance.
Well, if you say that is one reason, then we will look at what impact that had on the exam. They are going to review it, and they will come out with what is the extent. It's a disgrace that we went CBT, and our parents did not prepare the children for CBT, because when you were filling the form, you already knew what you were going to write.
But is it the parents?
No, parents are the biggest culprit in Nigeria. Parenting is in decline. We have a society where parents are in combat with teachers for any measure of discipline. We have a society where we have implemented Western ideas in capital punishment and said children should not be tampered with. We have a situation where learning and school is described as a scam, and there is no more encouragement for education. We have a situation where our young ones are in search of money at an early age, and no one is arresting the situation. We have a situation where you train your children to be Western pro, not local, not finding solutions to our challenges. Our situation is dire. This exam is a wake-up call.
So in talking about it being a wake-up call, what are the processes that needs to be taken? I mean,
it's so broad. You see, first, the people that are in primary school are not qualified to be there.
Absolutely.
Yes, no, they're not qualified age-wise.
Absolutely.
So there's too much pressure on a young brain that's supposed to develop and mature.
Or they go into primary school too early.
Yes, too early. Even from private schools and all of that.
I agree on that.
And so the psychomotor, that's why Ghana consistently for 7 years was at the top of WAEC, and Nigerian children look like kids because Ghanaians go to that exam matured and ready. Okay. So every time you go to Ghana, the basic education from JSS to SS is like our jam to university. By the time those children pass through that BECE and get into secondary school, they are so ready to confront WAEC.
Or even move on to other things in life.
And you see that they can even start working in
proper citizens.
And they can interact politically, and they have a mature mind. So the Nigerian kids haven't been exposed to too much pressure. He's not been developed properly. Those who run WAEC, the psychomotive, developmental pattern of Nigeria is
camp that can't fill their forms properly.
Yeah, I mean, even the banks. You go to the banks, and someone doesn't know how to. They don't know how to decide.
And you have to fill up
graduate slip.
I'm graduate. They can't even write proper sentences. They can't write properly, even in local languages. Any of that. So you see, have interaction with our people. Just say you want to employ and see the
employers of labor are complaining that look, they're not in the business of training and retraining. Do you know how many CVs they have to track?
And investors are saying,
I beg to differ slightly.
Okay,
and how I would differ would be, whilst I do recognize that our education sector has a myriad of challenges, we've seen that Nigerians who have studied, schooled in Nigeria, have left this country to the shores of the other country, and they've excelled. They've dominated, the other country. So there are people who have gone to school here, gone through the system here, and they're doing excellently. They get opportunities.
We've not said there are no exceptions. You see, if in every situation you have geniuses, you have brilliant ones. If you look at the quality of education of India, when they tell you and describe to you the rigors and what you take to get through, that's why the Indians control the world.
Absolutely.
They control industries globally because they have gone through a training process that we are even jokers. One Indian guy said when they see other people, they go to Spain, the Indians excel because of the process.
Even in Canada.
Our educational system is not, in fact, it's too laborious. The curricula does not have any response to our current needs. We have a big problem.
I agree with you on that.
In fact, overcrowded classrooms, demotivated teachers. Are you serious?
And
it's
students not willing to learn, but
they're not willing to learn because the end game is that those who have finished, we didn't prepare enough for those who have finished schools. They are unemployed, they are frustrated. What is the motivation for parents to even invest in education when the outcome, the end game, is to become like someone who is searching for jobs that are not available? You can't have so many universities and not have commensurate industries to absorb them.
I mean, so just to wrap this up before, I allow, Oliver and Benga to go to the next paper or same paper and check other stories. What we're saying, can we all agree that it is not just on the parents? I mean, just like Benga's Nigeria said, it's on everybody's table.
There are many aspects, but parenting can play a great role. Why? Don't rush your children into school. Scientifically has a negative effect.
Japan, China.
Yes, sometimes they even demand for double promotion to escape fees. They think that once you do that, the child is... No, even if it's brilliant, let the child pass through the stages. Parents are there. The parents are also involved in miracle center, reliance on miracle centers, special centers, magic center, so that they can prepare their children. You see the way they run around the jam center, you see they are looking for opportunities. They are outside the hall looking for opportunities. 570,000 people did not show up in this exam. Why? Because many of them could have registered, fronters. And when the check becomes tougher, you see many. Yeah. When NIM was introduced the first time, 500,000 people did not show up for JAM.
But you know what's interesting? Yesterday when I was talking what Nigerians are saying, one of the tweets we took was somebody detailing how they knew a friend or a family member who did not register for JAM but was given 315 as his score. To show you that we cannot trust correctness.
I like to always, JAM is saying to you, people said they had centers that they did not, but when you are feeling a computer, a lot of people are not computer literate. They use the phone, they think, I've seen graduates tell me I'm computer literate. You employ them into the office and the first thing is, okay, go open Microsoft Word. They don't know where it is to open. But this is somebody who claimed to become and listed those those softwares as part of the software.
WhatsApp literate. WhatsApp, yeah. Anyway, Joshua is back online. Let's go back to Joshua Marayi. Joshua, go back to where you started from, which is you were telling us what happened yesterday, and then of course what happened, what's going to happen today. So the ball is in your court. Go ahead, please.
So starting from where I stopped, what is going to happen today is that Nnamdi Kanu is back in court for his trial. We are expecting the council representing the federal government to bring forth more witnesses to substantiate their claim on Kanu's alleged terrorism charges. But now back to yesterday and Senator Natasha's case. Yesterday, Senator Natasha was live in court in flesh and blood for the first time since the suit was initiated at the Federal High Court in Abuja. Moving forward, earlier the judge and the parties involved agreed that yesterday was just going to be the adoption of proceedings, adoption of processes to the case. And as she said, it went on like that. However, I must take you through the fact that one of the prayers of the council representing Senator Natasha is that the court should discountenance the claim made by the defendant. In this case, the defendant is, first of all, the first defendant is the clerk of the National Assembly. The second defendant is the Senate. The third defendant is the Senate President. And the fourth defendant is the Chairman of Ethics Committee on at the National Assembly. That's the President of St. Oleda and Maxwell. Well, they prayed the court to discountenance the argument of the defendant, saying that it was an internal crisis, and as such, the court lacks jurisdiction to adjudicate on the matter. They also put forward affidavit of evidence showing cause while the court should penalize Senator Natasha, relying on the earlier Facebook post she made. They brought that as evidence too in court to say that the court that she went against the court order, saying that there should be no social media communication or any address to the press. That she went against that order. Now, on the part of the defendants, on the part of the plaintiff, that is Senator Natasha, through her counsel, the counsel prayed the court that the court should render the decision of the Senate Ethics Committee and the Senate null and void, saying that it was as a result of premeditation that she was suspended from the Senate. They also went further to pray the court to find in contempt the National Assembly. Why is this happening? You recall that Senator Natasha had instituted a suit at the Federal High Court sometime in March, that is 3rd March precisely, where she prayed the court to bar the National Assembly from taking any disciplinary action against her. However, 2 days after, the Senate committee sat and they suspended her for 6 months. Now they are back in court saying that, praying the court to find them and hold them in contempt and to initiate disciplinary action against them. Why? Because based on that interim injunction, as granted by Justice Obiola Igwatu earlier before he was recused from the case, he made an injunction that no further disciplinary action should be taken against Senator Natasha. Unfortunately, they went ahead to make that action and they suspended her. So she's back in court challenging them that a court has given an order. They have no legal standing or moral standing to go ahead with the suspension. That is where we are in the case. And Justice Binta Inyako, in her wisdom, said she was going to address the issue of contempt before moving to the suit. That is, she's going to attend to the issue of contempt on the side of Senator Natasha, that is praying the court to find the Senate guilty, and on the side of the defendant, as the clerk of the National Assembly, the Senate, the president of the Senate, and the chairman of the Ethics Committee, that she went ahead to make publications on social media when the case is in court. So these are the arguments. She further said that she will have to trash the contempt suit before going further to the substantive suit. That's the originating summons that Senator Natasha brought to the court. That is where we are. And the court adjourned to June 27th for ruling on both the contempt suit and the case improper.
Very, very insightful there. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much for bringing us a holistic update on what's happening, and we look forward to connecting with you again when we come back tomorrow. I'm sure subsequent shows will have you join them. Do stay well. All right, let's now come back to the studio here to look at some of the stories on the front pages of this paper. This time we're looking at the Nigerian Tribune. On the front page of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper this morning, PDP senators dropped to 30 as Aliero, 2 other Kebbi senators join APC. We also have Tinubu Jonathan Akpabio, Delta Governor, orders Honor Edwin Clark. Osho Assembly endorses Adeleke for 2nd term. Food security, federal government rates Ekiti high in agricultural investment. Reps reject bill on rotational presidency among 6 geopolitical zones. June 12, Lamido urges Tinubu to settle 45 billion naira owed Abiola family. Court sentences man to death for killing friend over cap. Ayeleo. PDP affirms Koshuedo as acting national secretary. And finally, Senate worries over resurgence of Boko Haram in Borno, Yobe, killing of 12 soldiers, and calls for swift military actions. I think we started with story. PDP senators dropped to 30. Is a wave of defections. Defection season is upon us.
The entire Kebbi State Senate
political transfer window.
You know, I'm very sympathetic with such a political party that had such heights and is descending so rapidly. And they are not able to arrest it.
If you look at the waves of this wave of defections, I'm trying to trace
it started long ago. Even the Boris started earlier. You know, what is happening to the party is quite unfortunate, and more unfortunate for the fact that a lot of Nigerians that thought that there could be a viable alternative to the agitation to replace the Tinubu government.
Or for better government.
Seem not to, that hope is fading very fast, and to their very big disappointment. And that is what I'm saying, not even about the politicians, because the politicians are sorted. They will go to the other part. It's actually the electorate and the public, those who are sympathetic to PDP, who have invested their supports on the PDP over the years, and they have even recognized and regarded the party as their party, are fatally disappointed and broken by these developments. And up till now, the party has not been able to even identify. If there was a recommend. Somebody was in Anambra State election. There's somebody, they wrote a letter to INEC, and you can see those people who signed for the person is contestable. The person who has signed as secretary is different from the one the Supreme Court has affirmed. Is that not problem for that candidate itself? So his candidacy is already troubled because anybody can go to court and say the people that submitted his name are not the right people. And that is exactly why you see the Oboewori, they look at the party, who is the leader. And the caller Ologbodinyo has been talking much more, talking everywhere. Where is the spokesperson of the party? Why is the PDP current spokesman not popular?
Yeah, that's what we spoke to him this morning.
That's what he's been saying. Caller is the one speaking.
But he was former.
And he's former. And he's the one breasting, going forward to speak. I mean, talking more about the party, encouraging people.
Former Benue governor, Gabriel.
This one, he nailed it completely.
He said the PDP is in ICU.
Absolutely.
It's in terminal decline. It may die soon.
No, he even said if Saraki's attempt do not work, that is the end. And he said from the way he spoke soberly and truthfully, that's the picture. And
but you believe in Saraki's intervention?
No, he doesn't have the kind of influence that can put they have lost a lot.
I mean, he's a former senator.
He's been very quiet behind the scene. He's not been very active. And also, he has been in the APC. We need a proper PDP man.
Like
who has always been PDP.
Like
yeah, but now he's already gone. He's even interested in, so long as they are still flirting with Atiku, they still keep Atiku as a possible candidate.
Does it mean that because the FCT minister is working with the APC, does that stop him
from you must give it to Wike. He's been very passionate about that party. But in life, he has to weigh his options, and he was given a deal. He has been very forthright. He tells you, I fight my truth. What I want is what I go for. And he has been very, in fact, I see him as one of the most successful Nigerian politicians now. Somebody really, I'm not very enamored about him. But I'm beginning to see how come this guy is winning. How come he says it and he works? How come? And these people just allow him have a field day, become such a great figure today in Nigeria. PDP promoted him, nurtured him, and gave him the platform.
I mean, he's passionate because he's also protecting his investment. He has committed a lot of resources into the People's Democratic Party.
No one will blame him, and that's what all politicians do. Now you see, a lot more people will go because the party is not just able to get it right, and it's painful that they keep going in the wrong direction.
So now they've all moved to the APC. There are those who suggest that the APC will in time implode because it will not be able to contain all the multiple ideologies coming together. Because there is no
overload.
Yes, that is true.
Do you agree with that?
Well, I don't agree, but it's possible. Why is it possible? Nigerians are always going to find options. Now it's convenient, tomorrow it might not be.
And it's popular.
But you see, there was a time in this country where PDP took the entire country and left a very small portion. So
I mean,
Nigeria came out of
only one
Southwest, only one governor. Out of all the people,
we've seen more than this.
So I don't see where they will always disagree, and people after this, even if before the election, people might feel aggrieved and move to another smaller party if they believe they want the ticket and the ticket is not given to them.
So it means that when the ice breaks and you don't see that your tickets are not coming to you, clear, then the eyes will clear.
Yeah.
So you have to realize.
The only good thing I see, let me tell you, there is a certain culture in the APC that the PDP didn't have. The PDP was so powerful that he who holds the treasury became a leader and controller. Now, the APC appear to know how to keep their aggrieved quiet by being generous. I don't think PDP was not that generous to those who were aggrieved. PDP had a way of telling them that if you leave, you have nowhere to go. Like a church that feels that it has the right doctrine and prides itself that even if you leave us, you still come back. That kind of attitude, PDP need to change from it and take it serious. When Peter Obi was leaving them, they did not make effort to get him back. That showed that they didn't have that kind of...
And he came back to haunt them.
No, and he went away, and they thought that his popularity... They didn't even make any attempt to go to him and say, well, come. They don't have that humility. They need it to succeed. They need it. Kwankwaso was leaving. They watched him. They knew history, Kanu, they still left him. They let him go.
They are proud.
So they are very proud. They need to be humble.
And then there are rumors that Trump considering APC as well.
There's a story I need us to touch on the front page of the Vanguard as a matter of urgent national importance. Kudos to the guys of the Vanguard for doing this special report. How lives get wasted daily on Nigeria's highways of horror. And it's a tragedy, and these are avoidable deaths. Horrible federal roads in Cross River, over 150 persons burned to death, 100 vehicles wrecked in rivers, north highways of frequent disasters and death, lamentations in southwest, federal roads of frequent auto crashes in southeast. Federal government is doing its best to fix road infrastructure. Minister Dave Umahi. Is it that the problems are too, Umahi can only do certain things at a certain time. We can't commit our entire resources as a country into fixing roads, but what can be done in the interim? They're avoidable. Like, how do you have motor parks that sell alcohol? You don't have rest and recreation on the way. Nobody checks on this driver's state of mind before they give them articulated vehicles to. These are low-hanging fruits you can deal with before talking about fixing the roads. And was it necessary to do that Lagos-Calabar superhighway when you have federal roads that are begging for attention?
There are, if you want to look at the negatives, you won't end the conversations, because in the country where over the years our road infrastructure has been so much neglected, and we rely on it 100% to move goods and goods and persons. That tells you that the roads are susceptible to damage anytime, no matter the much investment. If everything is moving by road, that's going to be very difficult. And then when you look at the coastal road, I see it as a very huge intervention, because if you want to fix the Lagos-Ibadan, Lagos-Benin-Ore road, and you don't have an alternative, the gruesome pain and suffering people will go through to even fix one part of it is horrendous. If you want to fix any road, so I think if we can get the coastal roads, then we can come in there and refix all these roads. There must be an alternative, something that can take the traffic away and then you take time. Because all the time we've been trying to fix Lagos-Ibadan. Anytime that road, look at what happened between Lagos-Ibadan, the suffering until those roads were completed. The sufferings.
But the road is super now.
Super now. Yeah. And now what I'm saying is, government need to keep investing. The investment is just, it's very difficult to find funding. So Umai is working hard, but not enough to immediately resolve the deficit. The deficit is big. Now, if the roads are so bad, how come we have crashes? Is it because people don't know that the roads are bad and they run into the difficult part? Driver development is also a very big issue. People who take all kinds of substances are on the highway. Can't you see the Otedola Bridge becomes so difficult for a driver who is unstable? Because you need to be stable to manage that maneuver, the way the slope and all of that. But every time they fall there. So we need to do a lot in these articulated trucks. They need to retrain those drivers. They need to find out if those people are fit to even sit on the driving wheel. We see vehicles without any sign, no lights on the tail end of the police cars, and these vehicles go through the road, and we have road safety that are disturbing smaller vehicles. It's unbelievable.
It has been my biggest concern.
How would such a truck even be allowed to move an inch more?
How much is a bulb? You would stop private vehicles and say park, and in front of you would see trucks that are not roadworthy,
and you allow them
and you say, don't worry, go, you.
So your biggest story in Nigeria.
I said to you that each time we are dealing with a problem in Nigeria, I know the politicians will play their politics with the problem. The citizens must focus on the solution.
Right.
Because from year to year, politicians always
find there are controllers in charge of this. Most matching order come from President Tinubu as it should be matching order for. Why are people not just doing their jobs?
The biggest problem is that every situation in Nigeria is politicized, ethnicized, religiousized. The moment you start taking firm action, you say a lot of these trucks are to the north. You are disturbing the northern driver.
And if you speak too much, you will be ostracized.
Yes. So it's very difficult. If you look at that woman at the Ministry of Women Affairs, she was removed because she was fighting in a manner that didn't please politics.
Yeah.
So you think that was
Minister
politicized? Okay, you know what? Let's quickly move on from that because we have like 1 minute to wrap
that's
up.
the
And I really want you
yes.
to talk about this as quickly as you can. June 12 elections, 1993. Sule Lamido believes that President Tinubu should pay the family of MKO Abiola 45 billion naira debt owed to MKO Abiola, and that doing that will settle the June 12 problem.
45
good call, naira.
But that's a huge amount.
It's a big call, good call, but a trap. So the president must be careful.
Why do you say it's a trap?
What's the money
He's
for?
from the same ethnic group. He was one of those. He was party to it. So if he does it, they will think he's part of his what do you call that thing? No, we cannot. 45 billion is chicken feed. It's not something the government will lose a sleep over. But this is a matter that must be handled carefully by the president. If there is a consensus for that, if there is actually a debt, the country must be
they're saying that IBB had agreed. Sule Lamido is saying that he spoke to IBB and that...
Who's IBB?
Is IBB in charge of our coffers?
Well, that's, you know, in the writing of his book, you know, after he presented the book, that he spoke to him about it, that can you confirm that Nigeria was actually owing him?
But that, if it's Nigeria is owing the press, either a human being or an institution, should be in our books.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that Abacha is owing, that those that were close to Abacha.
It's not a private debt. So it's not Babangida that should confirm our annual budget. It's something, it's supposed to be reflected in the books that there's a debt to S company or an individual.
Because they just paid the Sukuk, money. Nigeria is free
They
now.
should use it to buy proper computers.
Okay, Sukuk has been cleared.
Yes, it has been cleared.
So I think Tinubu should see it. It's a good call, but it must pass through the right processes. If there is indeed a debt, the country should pay that debt and every other debt around that same period that have not been paid.
Exactly.
Because this country
and also the Super Eagles money, they've been promising there since 1994.
It's better you clear. One thing that's painful is that if a president issues a statement, it's supposed to be the God law. Institutions in this country are not following up enough to give our president credibility. Buhari had to make a pronouncement in 1994, or some years back, 1980 something, and it was only given when Buhari came back to power 30 years after.
I'm sure that if we check all the gain we've made from declaration that subsidy is gone, we should be able to offset this. But
your governors have the money.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kashima, for joining us.